This is prompt 14 for Dephemerember. We're looking at pattern and matchbook today. Hello and welcome to the treasured page. I'm Melanie and this is our quiet crafting space. And today we're having a look at patterns and matchbook, making a matchbook. Well, do we have to make a matchbook? That's quite an interesting thought. We're looking at making ephemera and then adding it to the journal, but what if we built the ephemera into the journal as we go? I'm quite keen to look at that. So I've just been flicking through here to find a page where I might want to play. That's an interesting one there. And this is interesting here. So this part of the journal, I feel like I'm more of this, I've geared it up to be more with an Indian vibe, with the vibrant colours. We've got some textiles here. I've got this potential pocket that I think will probably live there. Not sure at the moment, so I've just put it there for the time being. But I feel like I want to be here, and I'll tell you why. The prompt today, the animal, is the peacock. And so we're going to take that and add it there just for a little bit of inspiration. So looking at this peacock, automatically I can see these colours coming through. I can see the teal greens, I can see the turquoise blues. I can see this rusty gold, beautiful colour of the peacock feather that's in this image. And we can just see that that's all happening there. So I might keep that card there and then use that as my inspiration for this page, because it's got those colours. The colours appear there, so let's get ourselves organised. Okay, so this I think is the page that I'm going to work on. I like the colours, that's inspiring me, and it seems to link in nicely here. I've also got this page turning in anyway, and I had a thought with the matchbook. Matchbook would fold up a little bit at the bottom and then fold down at the top, and then one slots into the other, and the whole thing is secured down the bottom with a staple. And then it's a piece of ephemera, because this would flip open and then inside would be the matches all lined up, and that's the simple configuration of a wrap around. And it doesn't have to be matches, it could be papers or a photograph, it could be anything. It's just it's a nice little idea. You could stick it down and have that tucked in and have a whole row of them, and each one have something interesting in. It could be a sample of fabric or a little bit of trim. It could be a little painting inside there, anything really. They could all link down the side, and that'd be a nice idea for the match. But for today, what I'm thinking, instead of having it orientated in this portrait way, what if we orientate it this way and have a matchbook like this? And so really what we need is a back, a flip over, and then a flap here. But what if we've already got half of it? What if we've already got this bit, and now we just need to bring the wrap over bit and make a much larger page matchbook? So the prompt today is pattern and matchbook, and I've got a lovely pattern there already which has been created by ink. So what if I go extra with my pattern on the top and bring in pattern paper in the peacock theme? And so this is my scrap of wrapping paper, which is quite a nice strong piece of paper, and I think that this could form my matchbook idea. So I'm going to assemble that with the peacock card separate, because I'm bringing in the peacock pattern onto this page here. And to construct that, I want to hinge that in, I believe, and just have it like that. So it's quite a simple idea, and sometimes the simple ideas are the most effective. So I think all I need to do is some sort of clever bit of measuring here and folding. So I'll just move the journal out of it for a moment. Fold in enough to create a hinge that I can glue onto the page, meet up with my original hinge so that there is a break and it's not right up to there, but I could equally do that. So let's have a look. So it could start from there and flip out. So we have that. Then come in and tuck under. And that's the matchbook design. Or it comes forward so that we've still got that look there, which I don't dislike. The hinge starts there. We've still got this strip here. And then that's, but traditionally you would put something in your matchbook, such as matches. So we don't necessarily want matches, but paper would be useful. And I've got these lovely rag papers, which I found in London on an adventure up to London this year. So I could have them in there, and I'll just maybe shorten them by a little bit. And so then there would be sketching paper or watercolour paper. Just take off a bit. That tears off nicely, that's good. Okay. So this is very thick paper, very thick artist paper. This isn't very bold, so I'm wondering if I should bring this in for a slightly more rustic edge. I think I like that. That's quite nice. Then I've also got some brads, some copper brads. So if we return to the story of Marianne North, we left her as she was returning from Jamaica back to London, England, after a 5-month stay on her exotic island in Jamaica. And this was on August 1872 that she decides that she wants to go off on her travels, and this time she's bound for Brazil. So by early September, it takes her a whole month, Marianne was nicely ensconced in a large airy room in a hotel on the outskirts of Rio. She had the perfect view of the Sugarloaf and the Cacoverdue Mountains. Sir Joseph Hooker, who is the son of Sir William Hooker from Kew Gardens, they're both the directors at that time, had warned her that the hotel she intended to stay in was unfit for people such as herself, and that the landlord was a complete rogue. But Marianne did not believe him, and she never regretted staying there, and in any case she felt that she could put up with any hotel or hovel provided that she had the view she wanted and needed. She was surprised that Rio was so very colourful and the houses were somewhat reminiscent of Spain and Sicily, and that reminded her of her European travels with her father. She felt very at home there, and she made lots of friends. So as usual, Marianne falls on her feet for another expedition to the Cacoverdue Mountains. She had the good fortune to meet Mr. Gordon. He was the manager of a mine, and his daughter Mary was with him, and this resulted in a wonderful invitation to stay with them at their home in Morrovello. The weather was particularly wet and the mud was undescribably awful, and all of her new friends in Rio were against her making the trip. One assured her that there was nothing there to paint, and another said that she would find the scenery very monstrous, while others declared that the route was unpassable and that travellers were even being turned back. So there we go, that was being deterred. But Marianne was more determined than ever, and she was not deterred by their warnings. Part of the journey was undertaken in a carriage drawn by 4 mules, 4 donkeys, which went so fast that Marianne was not able to appreciate the superb scenery, and she just longed to dismount. There were magnificent tall trees and orange-coloured drapery. There was ferns and begonias, but the road was treacherous. The mud was very difficult, and the roads had potholes that were so deep that the mules started to fall down and fall in, and then they were struggling to get this cart to go forwards. So what happened was one of the men was ordered to carry Marianne on his back, to which she absolutely refused and decided to walk. And the rest of the way, in the pelting rain and the wet weather, she had an umbrella and she got on with it. She didn't complain. She thoroughly enjoyed the walk. She wasn't cold, and so she was able to look at the natural flora and fauna as she walked to the next town. And surely enough, eventually they arrived at the Gordons' home, and she had agreed to spend 2 weeks with them, but they all laughed later on because 2 weeks turned into 8 months. They had lots of pets of cats and macaw parrots, and she just felt that it was a place where she could just relax. She also had a nice area, a quarter where she could be and stay in their home, which was slightly separate from the family, and that was perfect for her. But her greatest friend of all time was a dog that befriended her and would come with her every day into the jungle and the forest and be with her, clearing the way and giving all the enemies, such as snakes, reason to go. And would keep the monkeys and some of the birds out of her face so she could get on and paint, and he never left her side the whole time she was there for the whole 8 months, and they became great friends. She named the dog Lopez. She stayed in all sorts of different places, from really run down places where they had pigeons in the rafters and fleas on the floor, to the most sumptuous of places with the delicious meals and the best coffee she'd ever tasted. Eventually, all good things come to an end, and soon Marianne was steaming towards England in company with 9 little singing birds, which she kept on a spare berth in her cabin. Marianne spent the next few months back in England, and she learnt how to etch onto copper, and she enjoyed the company of her increasing number of friends in London. It was unusually cold, though, that winter, so Marianne found the weather quite unbearable and started to make more plans to go to the Gran Canaria. And we leave the story there in 1875. Okay, here's what I have so far. This is my front cover with the patterning on. I've used the peacock feather from our prompt today, and the peacock originated from India, so it's quite fitting that it should come and live around my journal where I would like to perhaps have stories from India. And I want to use this journal to carry on with the stories of Marianne North. I'd like to dip into it and be able to really explore the stories and the adventures in more depth, more than I can achieve by just trying to do the prompts for Dephemerember. So I will be carrying on some of this and dipping in and having it as my journal, things that I use when I want to show you a page or come up with some ideas. I will use this journal in the future. Therefore, I don't want everything totally complete. I want to be able to leave some space and gaps for things that I would like to add to it. And in doing so, I'm building in opportunities for the future. So this is a good example. So here we've got this piece all tethered in with these copper coloured brads. That's great because that creates a flip. And here I've got a nice panel where it could be writing space, it could be collage, anything, pictures or whatever. I haven't stuck this down completely deliberately because it might look really nice to put in a picture or a collage or something that would then be able to live there in this journal and overlap, so we don't have all the harsh edges. So I'm not going to stick that down, and that's how that's looking. The same over here. This is a nice panel for perhaps writing space, but it could be a collage, and again it could be something where I have images hinged on that are able to flip out, and I want the ability to have that, so I'm not going to stick that down. So this is how it looks with the matchbook closure, as was the prompt for today, and that I think answers the brief really well, because we've got pattern and we've got a matchbook closure, and that is the page, and it all works as one. It's also quite clever because if we take that open, we now have a hinge for future interest and things that we might want to put in there. This is a really good page if you're doing your own creative journal. And we've got painting, sketching or writing space there, there and there. Then this flips out and we've got space there as I've just shown you, but also because that is really going to be quite difficult to write on, we've got this hinged area here which flips back, and the whole thing matches in with the page that we did the day before for prompt number 13. So that is then another writing space, sketching or drawing, and you can get to those there as well, and then that could be the place where pictures come in and live, or photographs. And if you're doing your own personal journaling, then there's hidden writing space, or you could glue in images and things there, like a nice glue book, little bit extra, and you can journal on that bit as well, but that is this side. So it's got the ability to be a double paged area where you can journal, and then the whole lot is tucked away neatly and elegantly in this matchbook closure. So that's the prompt for today, and I'm not going to do any more. Well, one last thing I will do is the one thing that I wasn't too happy with was this harsh edge here. It looks unfinished to me, and all I'm going to do is just decorate it down there with a nice bit of trim just to finish that off, and I think that that sets the tone nicely and joins those two pages. And then I've still got the option to put anything that I want there. I could put fabric down there and glue that on. I could put paper, or I might want to collage. I just want the option for the future, and I don't want to think about that now. So we'll be gluing this down. And then we've heard about Marianne and her adventures. We will leave her there and the wonderful time that she's had in Brazil. And just in case anybody was feeling a bit sad about the dog, she does actually return. She returns a few years later. She loves it. She goes back in 1880, and all is well. So she has homes all over the world, does Marianne, and the whole thing is rather wonderful. She goes where the sun is. She doesn't like it where it's cold. And she makes wonderful friends along the way. Just ink that bit there. And that all tucks in neatly. And if I do a collage in the future, this will only serve to strengthen this up and enhance the closure. So that is the page for today, nice and neat and tucked away, with lots of fun to be had within that extra bit. So it is a, it is a tip-in extra bit. I hope you enjoyed that, everybody, and do please like and subscribe to the channel and continue watching to hear more stories of Marianne North as best I can. I will be continuing with this journal. It is all about her, and we'll work through the prompts. Perhaps some of them will be quicker than others, but I will get through all the stories of Marianne North, even if that is after the 25th, and I will go back and embellish some of this journal, and I will also tell you any snippets of story that I've left out. So there we go, everybody. I hope you've had fun and value here, and above everything else, just slow down and make crafting time for you.
Bye bye now.